Coach, the energy out there felt different. What changed for the team today?
It was the new game day scratchers from the California lottery. Players, everything. Those games sent the team's energy through the roof.
Are you saying it was the off-field play that made the difference on the field?
Hey, a little play makes your day, and today, it made the game. That's all for now.
Coach, one more question.
Play the new Los Angeles Chargers, San Francisco 49ers, and Los Angeles Rams Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Support American-made tariff-free clothing with American Giant with American Giant. They aren't affected by tariffs because their clothing products never left the U.S. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com.
All right, we are live. MinerTalk is back. Wow. It's been long awaited since we've been back on air, and we are here. We've got Zay Galindo. We've got Sal Montes, my co-hosts here on the program. George Guajardo making a surprise visit with us. We always have a open door policy here on MinerTalk. Inspo Lens and Chris Collins could not make it here today. Tried to get the live stream going, could not make that end up happening. But we will have Chris join us here for the home opener next week. Let's just jump into it, guys. Utah State defeats UTEP 28-16. I saw it coming. I hate to say I told you so, guys. I hate to say that I was right. Felt like this one, I felt like I had a good pulse on this one. I felt like it was going to be close at some point. Felt like the Miners could take a lead. They did early on. And Utah State distanced themselves. At one point, I thought this game was going to get ugly. It was 20-7 right before half, and the Miners hit a field goal, Carlos Arreola, 42-yard field goal, to go into the half down 20-10. Out of the half, the Utah State Aggies held the Miners right away. They got a 5-play, 93-yard touchdown drive thanks to a 30-yard penalty. There was two separate 15-yard penalties compounded. They go up 28-10, and then the Miners couldn't really do anything after that. I mean, it was really disappointing because the defense started to step up. They forced 5 straight punts against Utah State to close out the game, and the offense could not get anything going outside of finally punching one in. They missed a 2-point conversion, and UTEP loses in this one 28-16. If you're a UTEP fan and if you've watched the first year of the Scotty Walden era, you're going to watch this first game, game 1 of year 2, and think, well, this feels very similar to last year. There's a lot of similarities into year 1 as to what we saw here in game 1. To everybody who is out there saying fire Scotty Walden and who are really upset about this game, I'll say this: pump the brakes. Don't get too low on this one. Now, on the flip side, to those fans who were saying 9 wins, and I would say a lot of the national media out there who said 8, 9 wins out there, that's the other one. That's the other side to it. Just, when you buy into the hype for you, that is UTEP football, you have to understand it is UTEP football at the end of the day. You can call it what you want. You could hype it up the way you want. You could get a former 5-star prospect coming into the system and playing a full game. You could do all those things out there. But at the end of the day, it is UTEP football. It is a historically bad football program. And a lot of the guys they talked up all offseason long, they were on full display today. Some of them shined, some of them didn't. And that's the reality here for UTEP. You can't really put point the finger of blame at anybody necessarily. I think it was a collective effort. The lack of scoring is really a concern to me. The defense, they did close this one out in a strong way, but they had some really bad points of this game too. The only, side that you could say that maybe took a step forward is the defense, the special teams. How can that happen? I mean, wow. We're talking here after game 1 thinking the special teams had a strong outing and probably outperforms both the offense and the defense when it was all said and done. Sal Montes, my co-host here on MinerTalk, going to start things off here with us. We're presented by Jack in the Box, and Jack in the Box is back with us as our title sponsor here on MinerTalk. Jack in the Box is open 24 hours a day because cravings don't have a curfew. Multiple locations across El Paso. Jack in the Box open 24/7, 365, and super excited that Jack in the Box is back with us here on MinerTalk. Sal, where do we begin on this one? Where you have the floor. Go ahead.
I think it started off the way that you wanted it to start off, and seeing some signs of promise at that point, right? Hey, defense gives up a couple of big plays, but they're able to get some stops and tackles for losses, forcing a field goal, showing pretty much what they finished the game doing, right? Bending but not breaking. Now in the middle, it's a little bit different, allow big plays and stuff, but hey, that happens, and then the Miners are able to answer eventually down the road and take a 7-3 lead, and at that point, it's like, hey, hold on, this could probably do it. Things were in sync. At that point, Nelson was 4 for 4, and I think the touchdown was on their second drive, so I stand corrected. But 4 for 4 with 45 yards and a touchdown. The timing is nice and whatnot. But adjustments, man, not even halftime adjustments, but right after that possession, you could see Utah State kind of starting to play some spots a little bit more and taking things away that Nelson was looking at early. So after that, there's really not much else to say. Big plays and stuff, but just the physicality and I don't want to say intellectual part was on Utah State more. They did have more penalties, but you could tell, man, they just play a different, faster, more physical style of play, and no pun intended on their fast, fearless physical thing.
Totally agree with that, Sal. We're going to welcome onto the program our other co-host here. He's Zay Galindo. He got a chance to produce Chihuahuas Baseball. I thought we were going to go Chihuahuas Baseball forever, Zay, but fortunately for us, our pal is Tim Haggerty. He had a short post-game show despite what a rally it was for the Chihuahuas, so credit to Tim Haggerty for cutting things short for us. You tell us, what'd you think of this one? Where do we start things off? Give us your early takeaways. UTEP falls in this one 28-16. A surprise for you. You picked the Miners in this one, just like Sal. Sal also picked the Miners.
Yeah, and I think the bigger surprise was there was only one team that looked like they had 70 new players on the field, and it was UTEP. And unfortunately, that was not the case. Utah State was the one with 70 newcomers, and they came out, and they just looked so much crisp. They looked more crisp. Look more relaxed. They look so much more confident. They looked like they were the team, heading into year 2 of their coach, but they weren't. They were the team with 70 newcomers and a new head coach. They were the team that struggled last year. They were the team that had 0 returners in the receiving room with a single reception. That is insane to me. And, it was pretty evident early on that UTEP was going to have an issue defensively. Utah State drove down the field, 3 easy points on this UTEP defense. And, you really did call it. In the Pater Pulse
podcast. We're good.
Words all mixed up. It's getting too late here. But, you called it. You said exactly how this game was going to go. You said Utah State's probably going to pull away. There's going to be a point in the game that UTEP probably does have a lead. But it was really, really similar to the Sam Houston Western Kentucky Week 0 game that we saw. The Bearcats came out. They competed for a couple of quarters. But at the end of the day, Western Kentucky just ran away with it. They outgained them. They just, like Sal said, they were fast, fearless, and physical, which UTEP claims to be.
Our fourth member here with us today, George Wahardo, he is back with us. So excited to have him back with us here to make a guest appearance. He's in graduate school with Arizona State currently as it stands. You tell us, what'd you think of today here? Give us your first takeaways. And it's great to see you, my friend, by the way.
Yeah, great to see you, man. Glad to be here. It feels good to be back. Feels natural. Just missing Alberto, right?
Oh man, yeah.
But
we're just
shout out to him.
Boy.
Shout out to him. He's doing great things. He's going to continue to do them. No, I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic here. I also picked Utah State to win. I thought it was going to be closer though. What concerns me is this Utah State team is picked ninth to finish. Was picked to finish ninth in their conference. They're also moving out of the Mountain West. UTEP's moving in. That concerns me. I did think still that Scotty Walden has these training wheels on the offense. A lot of these little dink and dunks, a lot of let's run on first and second down and get 2 or 3 yards and then put our quarterback in a 3rd and 7, right? A lot of that. But there was some highlights. I think for sure Malachi Nelson has the arm talent. It's the reads, right? It's that interception, throwing in a triple coverage, not having necessarily the touch to fit that pass in there. But I don't know. There was still some highlights there, some bright spots, I thought, for the Miners.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to Malachi Nelson, here are all the things I wrote down, okay? The skills are there. There's no doubt. I'm not even looking at the stats, and I could bring up the stats right now. But the skills are there. You see it right. He has the stature. He stands nicely in the pocket. He can see over all the players, which that might sound pedestrian to some, and maybe just of course he could see over everybody. But that's actually been an issue for UTEP, having some of those undersized signal callers, back there, and he kind of panics sometimes when they throw pressure his way. That's some of the things that I do worry about. He doesn't like to get hit. Like he liked that, he had that tough slide. I saw your post about it, Zay, and how you liked how maybe he did that out of just trying to get the play. Instead, he goes 4th and 2, and then UTEP is in that kind of situation, a little bit behind the sticks. I like him taking more aggressiveness and running the ball. I don't like necessarily being afraid of contact, and I get it. He's just that kind of quarterback. You could see it right there. I wrote at one point he can't run, but I think there's points where he's like Shedeur Sanders, where you don't think when you watch Shedeur, you say, well, he's got a total hole, he has a wide open lane to run, but he just doesn't take those opportunities at times. And I wrote down he can't run, but at the same time he has that kind of vision to where he could put that dual threat ability out there, if that makes sense. One of my favorite things about Malachi Nelson is his vision on the field and how he kind of moves his body with that vision. Let him throw sometimes. I'm thinking, instead of doing these, again, it's not the bubble screens, but what it is it's these dump off sweeps that they do with Malachi Nelson. I'll just say this though, you got to knock him a bit for how they finished the game, the way that they finished the game, unable to score, unable to get anything going offensively, not converting on third downs, not pushing the sticks. Those are the bad things right there, and those are the things you want them to clean up and watch during film and watch him progress. At the same time, the things that you love are the deep shots, the 34-yard touchdown pass to Kenny Odom. That reminded me of Skylar Locklear hitting Kenny Odom or Cam Thomas in that Nebraska game, in that New Mexico State game. That's what it kind of reminded me of right there. Same type of play. But Zay, your analysis on Malachi Nelson, what did you kind of think of him as you assess him for his first ever college football game?
Yeah, I think that people see the 5-star label and they really do forget. I mean, this really is his first college football game. This is his first college football start. And you could tell, I think it's the word that I want to use is he was kind of timid, maybe a little scared, and whether that's, his fault or the coaching staff's fault, there were at times where he just felt, he was closed off a little bit, like he wasn't unleashed fully, and it was frustrating. And of course, with the running, he's a guy that has that dual threat ability, but at times he looks kind of clumsy trying to run. I saw a couple of times where he almost slips trying to get out of the pocket, and it's all right, man, come on, let's get it going. But, it was evident to me that he can sling it. I mean, I texted you mid-game. The ball just flies off his arm. It looks, really smooth. You can tell why he has the 5-star rating just purely based on arm talent. But, being a quarterback is so much more than that, and we learned that today. So I think that you can knock him for some things and you can praise him for others. I think that we need to see him more down the road to give a better analysis. But, I mean, I just have to bring it up now. I did not agree with the mid-game quarterback change just for that one drive. That was unacceptable to me. That was a crucial part of the game where if you want to win this, you don't make a move like that.
Sal, you go ahead, because this was something you felt passionate about too. Shea Smith, I have it logged here in the third quarter, and by the way, Miners were down 28-10. They also, Utah State just got a 2-point conversion. It was a 5-play, 93-yard touchdown drive for the Aggies. Only 5 plays. That's all it took them. And, Bryson Barnes, credit to him. He is a tremendous quarterback. He's somebody that you look at and you think, well, could UTEP ever get a Barnes on their their team, who was 18 for 27, 229 through the air, 1 touchdown pass, and then on the ground in this one, he had 63 rushing yards. He netted only 29 because he lost 34. He was just kind of scrambling out there, and he was sacked quite a few times. I mean, credit that UTEP D-line, but going back to Malachi Nelson, going back to the Shea Smith, the switch right there on one single series. What'd you think of that one right there for the Miners?
I didn't really like it because what was the whole QB battle for in that first place, right? If you're going to do a switch, and you texted me this as well, the only thing we could think of is like a package change, maybe try to go with like a quarterback who can, a bruising quarterback, so to speak. And if that was the case, right, in the offseason battle between Locklear and Malachi, why didn't Skyler come in if he was supposed to be second up in that sense, right? Is that package a lot more worthy, so to speak? And it's like if you're trying to run the ball, I mean, hey, man, what about Hassan Wilson? Supposed to be your big running back coming out of Charlotte, and great highlight taping. It just kind of baffled me as if you want to switch it up with the run, why not go with your in my opinion, just your true best runner as far as the running back goes in Wilson?
Yeah, I think the Wilson thing was something that a lot of our listeners chimed in on. They were real disappointed that no Hashan Wilson throughout the game pretty much. He did take a carry at some point, or he was in the backfield at some point. Just didn't do much in this game, and people were really surprised. I got a chance to look at the depth chart, and he was running back 1, and he hardly got a carry here today. He was in the backfield for certain plays in the second half, but primarily played on special teams throughout this game.
My thing is, like, if he doesn't get a carry and that's because you want to use him as like a decoy, in order for somebody to be a decoy, they have to be effective in the first place. You have to give the defense a reason to bite on those play actions. But there was no reason to bite on a play action for Wilson when he didn't even get a carry.
Yeah, Cam Thomas was your primary back today. 16 carries, 36 rushing yards only, 2.3 yards per carry. So a lot to take away. I think there were some good points. I'm not going to get too high, not going to get too low on this game. I thought this was one they were supposed to lose. And for the Miners, let's see what happens here in year 2 of Scotty Walden, this year 2 of this squad. And for the Miners, now 9-47 on the road. That's got to change. And for Scotty Walden himself, 1-7 since joining the Miners on the road. The only win is at New Mexico State. So a lot of people would think, well, hey, I mean, that's just a bus trip. Like, when are you going to get on a plane and go win a game on the road, truly, like some of these other teams in college football? Let's go to the phones right now. Let's get the phone line started. We got a lot of tweets to get to. 915-505-6009. We're presented by Jack in the Box. We've got Ronnie. We've got Brian joining us first. We've got a lot of tweets to get to. We got messages on our app. Check us out on our app, and you can chat with us there. We've got one free phone line. If you want to weigh in, now's the time to do it. 915-505-6009. Ronnie, we are back. Thank you for calling in as always, my man. It's great to hear from you. I want to hear everything that you think, because this was a long off season for UTEP sports and a pivotal year for the Miners as final year in Conference USA, going to the Mountain West. A team they just lost to, who plays in the Mountain West, will be in the Pac-12 next year, or the Pac-8, whatever you want to call it. But regardless, the Miners start the season with an L.
First of all, it's good to be with you guys, so thanks for having me. Miners suck, man. Miners suck. This season's over with. They don't play no defense. They don't play any defense. Like, let's be real. They don't play any defense. Like, and the thing is, the defense is so crucial this season because Malachi really hasn't played any meaningful football in 2 years. He threw 17 passes last year, 3 his freshman year. Like, he struggled to find consistency. Abilities bounced around. So, like, he's not going to come out and be this 4 or 5 star that he once was 3 years ago. So you have to really make sure that you really need your defense to be ahead of your offense, especially this early part of the season while he's still trying to figure this thing out. He's really now QB number 1. Like, they have him throw it 34 times tonight, but he only gets like $178. That's like, what, 5.5 an attempt, you know? So they really need to surround him with a solid run game and a solid defense, because it's going to take some time. Like, he essentially did what Deshaun Watson did. He took 2 years off of football, and he's thrown back out there. He's not going to look great for a minute, guys. He might have some flashes and moments here and there, but he is not going to look great. The game changes, the speed changes, physicality, the mental side of it, like all of that reps that you do in practice is wonderful and great, but as you know, there's 12 games a year for a reason, and when you're only playing in one or two of the last two seasons combined, that just doesn't give you enough mental fortitude and live speed to really run a team this early. So even though I thought he had some moments considering what he's missed, I still like Scotty has to go and find a guy out of the portal that you can give big money to that can change the game defensively.
Well, let me ask you this.
It's as simple as that.
Because if let's say they went out there and they paid a lot of money for somebody who they thought could change them offensively, do you think they had the right player, the right quarterback in place to win this game, or do you think a different quarterback on this roster could win this game here as it stands, or you just kind of feel like indifferent about that, knowing that it's still Scotty calling the plays and it's still that defense that you just mentioned that you're not really a fan of right now?
It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. You can put Brady back there at this point. If your defense won't get stops, right, it just won't matter. If you have no run game and you're one-dimensional, like I said, it just doesn't matter right now. And I like Scotty. I'm rooting for Scotty. I want to be clear. So, Scotty, if you listen to the show, I'm rooting for you. But don't make the same mistakes Dana made. You need to find somebody you trust and hand over the play-calling duties so that you can be a little more advantageous on the defensive end. Because let's be honest, the last 10 years, UTEP's defense has been atrocious, no matter who the coach is. And we need somebody that says, hey, you know what? Yes, we're going to pay somebody. Yes, we're going to do all the stuff that Portal and I say for offense. But until I really light a fire under the defense and really start to get better players on that side of the ball, going to the Mountain West is going to be a you-know-what show, guys. It is going to be that. Think about this. Last year, Utah State was literally in the bottom 5 of FBS defenses. They were atrocious. Bronco Mendenhall comes in there year one, game one, and can hold the Miners to 16 points. I mean, that is just the mental fortitude of a coach coming in and saying, hey, we're not going to go for that. It's not going to longer be accepted. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to get some guys who want to be here, to take pride in defense. And he literally has statistically changed their defense literally in a 12th of the season, because they're 1 of 12 games in. They don't look anything like their defense looked the last two seasons. And I think that's where the Miners and Scotty have to say, okay, we're in this new portal NIL era. The next player that you pay big dollars to needs to be on that end of the ball. And I don't know if that's a linebacker. I don't know if that's a D tackle, I don't know. I don't care what it is, but you need to get a stud out the portal. Go get one of them kids from Colorado. Go get a stud out the portal who can change the game defensively. It's just as simple as that. And I'll say it again. If you're going to the Mountain West, you need to go get a Power 4, Power 5 bounce back that's had some success. Maybe he's in the portal because he didn't do some things from a character standpoint, but he didn't kill anybody, he didn't rape anybody. He needs a second chance. He needs to get to the league, so he's bought into what you're laying down for that second chance. You've got some opportunity to give him, and that's what you're going to need if you're going to take those jumps. If not, I'm sorry, it'll be another revolving door for UTEP men's football with another coach that we'll get excited about, get hired, let us down, go hire somebody. It'll just be a revolving door. And it's evident in what you see tonight. I mean, the fact that he even had Malachi throwing the ball 34 times is like, okay, you got some faith and trust in the kid, but once again, dude, he only threw 17 passes last year on an entire season. So now you've doubled his usage in game one. It's gonna take some time, man. Like, he's not there yet. You need to put your imprint on the defensive end of the ball and at least establish a run game so that he can at least be in some situations where the defense can't just load up and know that the pass is coming.
Well, I totally am with you on that, Ronnie, and I appreciate the phone call, man. It's always great to hear from you. We hope to hear from you all season long. Hope you're holding it down, and we want to see you back here in the 915 soon enough so you can watch one of these UTEP games. Join us at the Sun Bowl, join us here in studio, and then, of course, join us on the basketball court so we can go and hoop it up as well. So great to talk to you, Ronnie. Really appreciate your phone call. Let's keep it moving. 915-505-6009. Before we go to Brian, because I'm excited to talk back to Brian here on the program. Good stuff from Ronnie, but Sal, he was really down on the defense. I mean, Ronnie's not excited about what UTEP is doing defensively, and that's where he said UTEP needs to take a step forward. You can make the argument that as soon as Utah State went up 28-10, they started to ease up a bit offensively. Like, they kept it pretty vanilla, and even though they had that 3-score lead, they didn't really show too much against the Miners in that second half. Just kind of did enough to win. Do you believe, just like Ronnie, that it was a product of the defense allowing too many big plays, or do you actually think that the defense locked up in the second half and we're being a little unfair to the defense and how they've turned out?
I think they gave more hope than the offense gave, not only in the second half, but in the entire game, right? They start off and they only allow 3 points on that first possession. And then, eventually down the road, a couple possessions later, the Miners score. But I'm going to present a scenario to you, right? And then I'll ask a question after that. But remember when the Miners played Frank Harris and the Roadrunners in San Antonio, 24-0 lead?
Yes.
But did you still feel like, hey, you know what? There's a chance UTSA can come back because they have Frank Harris.
Yes,
that offense
the answer
can fly.
is yes.
Right? So, to that point, Kenny Odom, Cam Thomas, Malachi Nelson, Wilson, different players on offense. They have, on film the talent to do it. But even when they get down by 12, let's flip it. Let's say UTSA's down by 12. Hey, defense got to stop. They're giving you 5 stops. You feel good about your chances to go out there and get it. Whereas with this UTEP offense, you never really got that feeling even after they scored that touchdown to go down 2 possessions. They got the stops necessary to allow that offense to go out there and do their job, and it's going to sound crazy, but potentially win the game. Like, if we look at stops, you get the ball back, score. All right, get a stop, get the ball back, score. They could have done that, but they did not do it. So my question is, do you feel as confident in the offense to go out there and come back from a game down 2 scores?
No way.
You know what I mean? So
I'm going to say no way on that.
And the reason I feel that way is because of the offense. The defense did what they needed to do to give the ball back.
Yeah, I think that tells you that when you have a defense who can kind of protect leads like this, that tells you that the defense might be something that they can hold on when they're in home games and stuff like that. That's how they get some of their wins down the line. I could totally see that there, Sal. Good stuff. Let's go back to the phones. Brian's next with us. He's been waiting for a while. Brian, good evening, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
Doing great, man. Give us your thoughts.
Well, this game was a mixed bag, to say the least. I am not as harsh on the defense compared to what Ronnie was saying, because even though they had that blown coverage in some points in the games, they were doing their job, and it was mainly on the offense not being able to produce to get this game going. Malachi looks pretty decent, I'd say, despite a few mistakes and all that, but overall, I think we're looking comfortable with him going forward. But there's one thing that we have not mentioned at all this show, the officiating. Don't get me started on how bad the officiating was this game. He stepped out of bounds. This game should have been like 21-16, but nope. The refs gifted him that touchdown. But not to mention all the other rough calls that went against UTEP and all that, like the brutal 30-yard penalty that happened. It's just really rough. And you got to ask yourself, are Mountain West officials about to be as bad as this USA refs? I'm not sure, but we'll see how that goes in the future. But overall, I'm just very disappointed about it. But let's get rebound for UT Martin, and hopefully we don't lose to FCS like we did last year.
That's another thing. That's another thing to worry about. And appreciate the phone call, Brian. Thank you for weighing in as always.
Hey, guys, can refs hit the transfer portal too, but like for conference
games?
games?
that might have happened with some CUSA refs going over to the Mountain West and being on the officiating team here for today. Yeah, we got to talk about it, right? Brian's right. We spent all this time talking everything else but the officiating, and Miles Davis in this game right here, he has an opportunity to go for a 58-yard touchdown. He clearly steps out of bounds on that, replay and stuff like that. Kind of like what Scotty Walden said, they reviewed it, they called it. What more do you want? They reviewed it in that process. It kind of is what it is. If you're a defense, you can't allow a player to gash you like that. You have to make the tackle there. You have to stop the player in that situation, and that's on the defense as well as it is on the refs. I mean, the refs and the officiating were bad in this game. There were also some bad calls that went against Utah State. Let's not forget they had some bad calls. go their way as well, or go UTEP's way, I should say. It was just bad officiating. It's inexcusable. Outside of that, I don't know if it really changes this to being a win or a loss, Sal.
You know what, man? I'm going to say he was in.
Wow.
And this is the
take.
reason why. Because his right foot, that's the one in question. And you could see it. If you look on top, his right foot, the left part of his right foot, this is where it gets confusing. The left part of his right foot looks out, but when they looked at that camera angle, it was still above the ground. His right part of his right foot was the part touching the floor. So I think that's why they called it a touchdown. They couldn't definitely say, hey, his entire foot was down, because on that one angle, you could see some shade right underneath his cleat. You don't see the field right underneath his cleat, at least on that part of his foot.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, Zay. Officiating, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that they were really flag happy. I mean, not only against UTEP, against Utah State too. There were like 4 delay games this whole game, on both teams, and it was. I genuinely I thought that maybe they had the play clock sped up times 2. When you're on TikTok and you press you hold it so the video will go faster. That's what I felt like they were doing to the play clock. But in all seriousness, look, I thought he was out of bounds, but regardless, it's not like a UTEP defender pushed him out of bounds. He went out of bounds with his own momentum. He was going to score almost either way. There's no reason that play, gets out of hand that easily. He easily hits one cut and he's out. He's into the, open grass. So that goes down on UTEP's defense. Sure, he was out of bounds, but that shouldn't happen in the first place. And I think that the penalties, the worst one was obviously the Xavier Smith hitting him out of bounds, and then you had the targeting on the same play. Because Utah State, that would have brought up a third down, and they're backed up in their own, end zone. And you give them 30 free yards, you get them to midfield. I mean, come on, guys. You got to fix things like that. I'm really not a blame the refs kind of guy. If this game was maybe 25-28, maybe then I'd say, hey, let's take a look at this officiating even closer. But it's a 12-point game. UTEP had the opportunities to win even with the penalties, even with the call, and they didn't. So,
That's a good point. George, your thoughts on this one right here, the officiating part, the officiating controversy. Give us your take.
It's going to be an echo of everybody's. It's not why UTEP lost. Jerry Sloan used to say we shouldn't have ever put ourselves in a position to where the refs can affect that. I agree with Zay. If they call it out of bounds, I thought it was out of bounds. If they call him out of bounds, Utah State probably scores in a couple of plays anyways, just how that drive was going and how Utah State had been playing up to that point. Yeah. And the calls went both ways. I mean, the Xavier Smith thing is not a good look, but no, it's not. That's not why UTEP lost. I mean, they weren't great, but that's not why UTEP lost.
We're going to get to Rustin real quick, but first let's go to 5 Points Guy, who on the app says that it's the first time he's tuning in to MinerTalk. Well, welcome aboard, 5 Points Guy. Appreciate you tuning in. Sports Talk Carlos, New Year, same Miners. That's what he writes on the app. And then this is coming in from Albert. I wonder if this is Albert, though. D-line looked great today, and the secondary really needs to clean up more. The offense looked better than last season, but coaching really needs to improve. The controversial touchdown was the turning point of the game. I disagree on that. I really do. The reason I disagree with that is at that point it was so early. It was 7-3, and they go up 10-7 at that point. That's the last lead that the Miners had up until that point. They were up again 7-3, and they never got the lead back on their side. But at the same time, they probably score on that drive. And if it wasn't the 30-yard penalty on that drive, it could have been a different penalty on a different drive. The bottom line was I felt like that felt like year one. Having those back-to-back penalties, having the call not go your way, that felt like year one of Scotty Walden. I thought they got over that. I thought they, kind of refined themselves so they didn't make those kind of mistakes through penalties and stuff like that. But that isn't the case. And, that's a senior leader right there. And Xavier Smith, that's a veteran in this group right here who ended up committing a really bad error on his side. And, same with the guy who was called for the roughing the passer targeting call, which ended up going the other way. But 2 penalties back-to-back, a 30-yard penalty, that's ridiculous. That is deflating. If you want to go and talk about game-changing points, I mean, that's the deflating moments right there. Let's go back back to the phones. Rustin is next with us, 915-505-6009. We've got phone lines if you want to weigh in with us. Rustin, good to talk to you, my man. It's been a long time. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're hanging in, Rustin. You tell us your thoughts.
I think as I would say we're not even playing Monday morning quarterback. We're playing Saturday night, right? Quarterback
right.
On the phone call. But the out of bounds call, and I agree with you. The officiating had nothing to do with the outcome of the game. As a matter of fact, if we're playing the Monday morning quarterback thing, we go up 7-3, and the play calling on the drive right after we had got them to punt, right after going 7, we took the lead. They had punted, and their punter had a great punt and put us within, I think, the 10-yard line. It was the play calling right after that I had the issue with. And Cam Thomas, who, if you are a mathematics person, I'm just going to, very good player when you're on the outside, but it's almost physically impossible, and the statistics are against you to put a little guy like that to go up the middle on the running. So I'm not a fan of the running, but the play calling right before the drive where Utah State scored on the out of bounds play, that's when you're up 7-3. You've got to have some confidence in your quarterback. And one thing that Ronnie had said, and it really irks me, is the defense. I think the defense played good, other than the mistakes by Xavier Smith and the 30-yard penalty. Actually, the defense played pretty darn good, and puts you in the position. And I agree with Ronnie. That was 2 years ago, and you got to find your quarterback, and you got to do all that. And I'm not a quarterback, nor did I ever play college football, and nor do I ever think that I would be anywhere near a college football field. But I will say this: you're a 5-star quarterback at some time. You played at a high level at some time. You can only do what the coach tells you to do, and you're in those positions that you need to be put into. I think if we're going to what Ronnie has said, he made some great points, and you need that experience. And maybe right now Malachi doesn't have that, because you lose a lot of confidence. It's in everything you do, no matter where you go to work and you get put down a couple of years or whatever it is, you're going to lose that confidence. Maybe, this is just a maybe. I don't know, because I'm not the coach. But you got a quarterback in the last 2 of the last 3 games last year, and it's evident. It's evident. You could see it. He played lights out in the last 2 to 3 games last year. He comes in and he plays his spring ball and he plays his butt off. And he's out there in the summer and he's playing it, and he knows the system, knows what to do, knows those players that stayed with him. And I'm not saying Malachi isn't a great talent, but I think the play calling right after the touchdown didn't put Malachi in the position that he needed to be in. If you don't trust him, then don't play him.
I like that.
I know it's a sad thing to say, but if you're not going to trust that kid to the fullest ability, don't play him. Don't waste your time with them, and just say, hey, look, maybe Skyler is the man. And I agree with Sal. I'm all for giving kids chances, but you ride the horse that you chose. Don't put in Shea Smith. You didn't make it, dude. You didn't do it during the spring, and you didn't do it during the fall. You're not the quarterback. And it's all nice. It's nicey to give these people the chance to play, but you didn't do it. You didn't make it. And so my biggest complaint I had was the play calling right after the touchdown, because you had your chance. Even though that punter put you deep in that 10 yards, that play calling on those 4 plays, it looked like you didn't really want to give this guy that Jordan Palmer killer attitude. And that's what really I'm looking at it and going, is this really your quarterback? Or did you just put him in because he's a 5-star guy?
Hey, Rustin. Rustin, would you think UTEP wins if Skylar? To everything you said, I think you're making some really good points. Do you think they win with Skylar Locklear playing the full game?
I would say this. The answer, no. And I'll tell you why no. Because I don't think the play calling is there.
Okay.
I don't think the play calling is. I don't think the play calling is killer enough. And what I mean by killer enough is you've got to have some. Look, I'm all about the rah-rah. I'm all about this, but we don't have the time anymore at UTEP to continue to build. We have to win. And if it's by 1 point, great. If it's by 0.2 points, great. It doesn't matter how you win. You just got to win. And if you're not going to put your quarterback in the positions to win by giving him the plays to do what he needs to do, don't play him.
Okay.
If you don't trust him.
Okay.
So I do believe the defense played the best. Bonehead move by Xavier Smith. I get it. But, man, you're up 7-3. You just had I don't know if you guys are watching on TV. That's a great pass, right? That's a great pass to Kenny Odom.
Sure.
You're like, wow, that's great. And then you turn around after having them punt and then run those plays. You don't trust them.
Well, how about this one, too? And Rustin, I appreciate the phone call, man. Thank you for weighing in. How about the fact that, after it was the delay of game, and then I think there was some other play. After that, Walden's like laying into Malachi Nelson. We all saw that. Everybody here saw that, right? And then the CBS broadcast team goes back and they double down on it. So in case you didn't see it, the sideline reporter will remind you, she said Scotty Walden had some choice words to say to Malachi Nelson at the moment and said, you have to be better after the series. Then Walden goes to the line and he's trying to fire them up. He says some things to that offensive line, and that's his way of motivating them. But then later on in the broadcast, the CBS team also said, look at how different the two sidelines are. They were talking about how Scotty Walden's sidelines were energetic. They had a lot of energy, and then the energy would get sucked out of them. Energy up, and then they'd lose that energy. And then you looked over to the other side, and it was kind of a calmer sideline under Mendenhall and a different sideline, almost a little bit more in tune with everything that was kind of going on and not satisfied with any touchdowns, not satisfied with any kind of big plays that they had on Utah State's side of things. And so you're seeing a difference in philosophies, and I'm not saying it translates to wins and losses. I'm just saying it is what it is when it comes to UTEP and when it comes to what they did offensively and what they couldn't do defensively. So interesting stuff there by Rustin. We got to get to a bunch of other calls, guys. Let's burn through a couple calls and then we'll all react. So if you guys have thoughts, I'm talking about my crew right here. If you guys have some thoughts, write them down because our listeners are providing the heat right now. They're doing a great job. We've got the mayor, Eddie Morelos, coming up next. And we got Ruben from Central. All of it coming up next. 915-505-6009. Miner Talk continues. We're presented by Jack in the Box. You can interact with us on Twitter and X. We got a lot of tweets to get to as well. But let's go to DeMayor, who's joining us next. Eddie, what's happening, man? It's great to hear from you.
Hey, man, we had it up on in the TV, up in the press box. We watched the whole game. I'm going to agree with the previous caller as far as Scotty Walden calling the plays. Not very good, and I'm thinking if there was a time, 3rd and 9, and there was like a bubble screen, a little screen to the receiver coming across in the middle on the 3rd and 9 in a crucial time of the game. So I really don't dig the play calling either. I totally agree with that guy. And I think something different needs to happen. It doesn't matter who the quarterback was. You called it before, coming into the week. The Utah State Aggies were going to be victorious, and it didn't matter if it was Cade or who it was that was going to be quarterback. They were going to struggle to get that win today. And then the other thing is, early in the week with the shenanigans with the depth chart, did that really make a difference not giving your depth chart? Stop with the childish games already. Let's put depth charts out so the media can be prepared to call the game properly, so we can have something to talk out leading up to the game. Stop with the kiddie games already and just be a man and execute what you're supposed to be doing. And then the last point I want to make is I want to give a shout-out to Mr. Jeff Lindbergh, one of the originators of Minor Talk, and without him and John Teicher, we wouldn't be where we're at today with the great Adrian Broadus and Salmonella leading the charge tonight. And I'll go ahead and mic drop it right there.
Great job, man. I appreciate you as always, DeMayor. Thank you for weighing in. 915-505-6009. I got thoughts on him and what Eddie had to say as well. But before we get to Eddie, we'll keep it going with some calls to continue to respect these phone calls as well. 915-505-6009. People have been patiently waiting here with us, and we really appreciate them. Ruben is next with us. Ruben, good evening, my friend. What's going on? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm talking to you live from the Shack in Horizon, and we're really disappointed because at one point we had the Miners back on defense, and nobody's rushing the quarterback. You think that at least 9 players will be back on defense, and the receiver from Utah State has at least 15 yards on the closest defender. I mean, there's no excuse for that. I can train 8th graders to do a better job on defense. Believe me, I was over there at UTEP, and I was there holding babies and hugging Scotty Walden and hugging everybody. But you know what? When you can't coach, you can't coach. And it's time to move on. And thank you very much, guys. You guys on radio, you do a great job. Okay?
Hey, appreciate you, Ruben. Thank you. I thought it was Ruben from Central, but this was Ruben from the Shack. And shout out the Shack. We're so excited. We're going to be out there, Sports Talk Live, every single Friday at different locations out at the Shack. We're actually going to join the Shack out at Eastlake coming up next week. So excited for that. Appreciate you, Ruben, giving us a call. Appreciate your enthusiasm and your fiery call here as we continue. Guys, I've got some thoughts, okay? Now we're getting to the Scotty Walden unpopular point, okay? A little bit of vitriol against the head coach, Scotty Walden. There were people on social media who were real upset with Scotty Walden's play calling as well. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, it's not just play calling. For me, it's decision-making in situations, okay? I wrote this down at one point, and I told this to Zay at one point, but it actually happened again. Does UTEP have a good enough special teams to accept penalties when the opposition has those kind of penalties on their side? There were two different times, 2 different instances where the Miners accepted penalties off a punt where they didn't really need to. Like, they could have, like, it made maybe a 10, maybe a 7-yard difference. And then the second time they did it, it made actually like a minus 10 difference, a 10-yard difference the other way because UTEP got called for holding on their side. So my question to you guys is, does UTEP have a good enough special teams to accept penalties on their side? And then are you comfortable with all the in-game decision-making the head coach Scotty Walden does in addition to calling the plays? It seems like he's just doing a lot. Like, can we just say that in any kind of line of profession, when you're doing a lot of different things, it's easy for things to slip through the cracks, especially when you have a lot of pressure on you in these situations.
In the pregame interview, he mentioned something, and I can't remember specifically, but it's along the lines of this: how this season, and he brought up Coach Papalardo, who, blocking wise as far as kicking goes, and actually like field goals and just blocking in general for special teams or defense, an improvement. But one thing he said is he's going to allow guys to kind of do their job a little bit more and not really kind of get in the way, so to speak. So that kind of goes to your point. But if we just look at the staff, man, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, offense or defense, who are quality controls, assistant defensive backs, guys. Like, there's a 23 or 22 staff roster before you get into the actual support staff. And we don't have to do all that. It's like, strength and conditioning and whatnot. But with all that being said, let's go to the positions for this team. There's a minor back, there's a spur, there's all these other things going on. It's so many wires going from left to right. So is how much time is that taking in making a decision? If you're on that staff, whether you're the one who makes a decision or not, you got to make sure that there's so many other things in place aside from just a regular normal amount.
That's a really good point, man. There's just a lot. There's a lot of coaches. There's a lot of terminology. There's a lot of different things to do. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of excitement. And at the end of the day, football's football. If you're not winning, then that causes your own team to start losing those, losing the motivation and stuff like that too. So any thoughts from you guys? We had some good strings of calls. Ronnie, we had Eddie, we had Ruben, we had Rustin. Any thoughts? You go ahead, Zay.
Yeah, I want to start off with the Cam Thomas, discussion, because I've seen it a lot on social media. We've had a couple callers talk about it now, and I don't think it's popular that he's taking snaps at the running back position, but are we forgetting that they have a position created just for him called the minor back role? And I guess we really didn't see it to its full extent last year, but the definition of that role is he's playing receiver and halfback. This is something that I really don't mind. Now, should he have been the third down back? Should he have been the guy that's out there getting the bulk of the carries? No, heck no. I disagree with that 100%. I think Hassan Wilson should have been that running back one. He only got a carry today, and I think that's ridiculous. I didn't like how much they switched it up at the running back position this week. I mean, you look back to last year, they were so hell-bent on Javon Jackson being that guy that even when he did struggle, they rocked out with him. This week, you didn't let anybody get their legs under them besides Cam Thomas, and even then, you would cut him short and you'd bring in a guy like Ashton Emery, who did have a good game. Marquez Taylor did have a good game, but rock out with one guy. Rock out with one guy, let him get the bulk of the carries, and then mix it up. Don't have one of your best receivers out there getting banged up every play like a bell cow running back. No, heck no, man. Use him in the correct role, spread him out, find the ball to him, and that was just a big thing that irked me today.
Let's go to you, George. Your thoughts on some of the other calls that we had and other comments right there.
I mean, great stuff from everybody, but I mean, Rustin, just everything he said resonated with me. We're past the rah-rah stuff already, right? I think one of the biggest differences we've seen in the Scotty Walden era is the hype train and how much he gets this football team talked about and hyped up in the offseason. People are excited, people are engaging, and it's cool. But, we need to move past that, and we need to start winning games. And, yeah, it's the playbook, right? If you're, like he said, if you're not going to trust Malachi to make those 34-yard touchdown passes, right, to the Kenny Odoms of the world, what are we doing here? If you only feel like Skylar Locklear is the guy that can run your offense, then put Skylar Locklear in. Otherwise, you're killing Nelson. You're just killing him.
True. I mean, it's a good point, and not putting him in good situations either. So really good points right there. Hey, I want to give a big shout-out to Chris Collins from Boomy Dental and from Inspo Lens. He'll be back in action with us next week. Boomy Dental, by the way, down-to-earth dentistry for everyone. Give them a call, 915-591-2525. They joined us today for some special giveaways out at the district. We had some awesome giveaways. The posters went great today, by the way. So that was what we really loved from Boomy Dental, along with all their great giveaways that they have with us. So make sure you follow our social media for all the Boomy Dental t-shirt giveaways that we're going to have here in the coming weeks. Chris has some points for the show. Number one, Malachi Nelson's debut. He says Nelson turned a steady performance in his first career start. No one expected fireworks in game one, but he showed his potential. His poise in the pocket and quick decision making were clear strengths. He gets the ball out very quickly and on time. Number two, quarterback room outlook. It's hard to say another quarterback would have elevated the offense tonight. A player like Locklear tends to hold on to the ball longer, which could have stalled drives and cost them points. Number three, coaching strategy. It almost felt like UTEP and Coach Walden treated this matchup as a preseason tune-up rather than a must-win. And Walden's decision-making. Moving forward, Walden is going to need his star playmakers to rise above and execute because their playmaking is the only way to bail out his bad decision-making. Wow, well put by Chris. I thought that was really well put. I would say that I'd agree. I think the bad decision-making, look, I mean, how many times did we see second down run plays? It was like second and long, and they just do this like halfback stretch or out of the shotgun, hand the ball off to Cam Thomas, and it never worked. 16 carries, 37 yards for Cam Thomas, averaging under 3 yards per carry. Those didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what I said, Cam Thomas should never have 16 carries in a game. It's as simple as that. He is a minor back. He's not a full-on running back, and there's no reason why it's 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9, you're running the ball. Why are we doing that? And the kicker is usually these second down and long runs come after a run that went for little to nothing. It's like, what are we doing here? I know I'm not a college football coach. I literally played 1 year of freshman football. But, I mean, come on, right? I'm not delusional over saying, why are we running the ball on 2nd and long? That's an obviously, a passing down, a quick pass, something. Don't run the ball for 2 yards and you get yourself stuck in these 3rd and long situations, and all of a sudden now you have to punt the ball. Like, no.
915-505-6009. Sal, Malachi Nelson, thoughts from you?
I think he's really quick, and it goes for him and it goes against him. I thought there were some instances where he evaded pressure. He was as crazy as it sounds, mobile in the pocket.
He was
shifty.
That's a better way of saying it. Mobile in the pocket. He just struggled when it came to decision making, and also he struggled when it came to running. But I really like that comment, and I think I need to even write that one down. Mobile in the pocket is how you can describe Malachi Nelson.
He's shifty.
He's not a runner,
and he has more or less more times than not. He has a sense for pressure. Now, to that point, mentioning the quickness. Sometimes when he senses that pressure, he moves a little bit too early and moves quicker to a spot where the defense happens to be. It's either working for him or against him. That's one thing I noticed. And another one is just the timing of his throws. There are about 3 or 4 that we can point out where if he's just a little bit earlier, if he throws it a little bit higher or a little bit lower on some of his throws, he's able to complete it. Like, there was a touchdown right there for him. I think it was to Judah, if I'm not mistaken, but it wound up. Yeah, Emery wound up running it in. But, I mean, those are the throws that you're going to have to complete if you want to be able to get back in it, right? Like, we mentioned UTSA early, like Frank Harris is making that throw. He's been there countless times. He's familiar with how to be shifty out there. Now, it's there. He just has to solidify that. So the timing of it, a little bit of direction on it, the decision making, I'd say it's probably like an 80, so to speak. You know what I mean? You could tell that there's progress, but makes you look forward to the game against Tennessee Martin and eventually after Texas, right? Monroe. You want to see what he could do there. That's going to be a true measure right before Conference USA. So we say this all year, but we got about a month before we really see what's going on here. So I'm not out on Nelson.
Okay, I'm not out even remotely either. I agree with you there, Sal. Back to the phones we go. We got Milkman next, 915-505-6009. Milkman, you are back with us. We are back here on MinerTalk. And before we get to you, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. We'll get to Milkman and more calls right here. You're listening to MinerTalk, brought to you by Jack in the Box here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Now 915-505-6009. Milkman is next. Milkman, what's going on, my man?
Hey, what's going on, Adrian?
It's great to hear from you, my man. Go ahead.
It's good to talk to you, too. So I just wanted to call in and say that you were right, definitely right in tempering folks' optimism. However, I will say it is just the first game, we can't, discount a season after the first game when they're getting out,
agreed,
jitters and stuff like that. So, I'm not going to, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I will say this. I did notice with Malachi, and we were even talking about it when we were watching the game, he does have a very quick release, which is really good. So, I'm hoping that, some of the good stuff we saw that we can build on that. I will say the defense definitely impressed me, except for those couple times where they let the quarterback a whole minute worth of being completely free. That was kind of unbelievable. There was a couple times where I was like, well, of course he's going to complete the pass. You give him that much time,
or the blown coverage.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And so other than that, those few glaring exceptions, the defense is the only reason we were in that game at the end. I mean, obviously, if we need to count on them, they've shown tonight that you can count on them because they did everything in that second half to still keep us in the game and give us a shot. So that's good. Offense, God, what is going on with the offensive line? Like, I know I remember you guys talking about it and saying that you were worried about it. I guess I should have been more worried about it because I was like, well, surely they've, helped plug some of those gaps, but wow. Yeah. It's a problem. But again, it is the first game, so I'm not, I'm drinking a beer and I'm just, kind of, licking my wounds here, but we still have a full season to play. Of course, they're going to get drilled by Texas. We know that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they can't turn this season around, because I definitely saw enough positives to know that, if they can build on that, they could certainly turn this year around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it's way too early. I'm not getting too low on this team whatsoever. I want to maintain that I think UTEP's going to win 24-14. Book it right now against UT Martin. I've got it right now. 24-14. They win by 10 points. They beat that team in UT Martin, a team they should beat. A team just like Southern Utah last year, they should have beaten last year. It's a team just like that. I've got them winning by 10 points next week, home opener. Get the fans excited. And then, yeah, like you said, they're going to get blown out against Texas, but can you beat Louisiana Monroe? And can you go out there and beat the likes of La Tech to close out the month of September? Those are going to be the ways or the games that UTEP is judged on. I'm not judging them too harshly on this game against Utah State. I think a lot of fans who had hype on this season are judging them on this loss. I'm not there. I think I'm there when it comes to the poor decision-making, to judge them on those, to judge them on some inept play calling that we're all talking about right now as well. But to say that the season's a wash, or, even to go back to my season prediction and saying under 5.5 wins, I actually think there's a path. I mean, when you look at this year's team, and you could maybe make the case of UTEP progressing and having a better second half of the season than they start the year. And it just is, kind of how the schedule will shake out. But this conference looks awful. We got to spend a whole segment talking about how bad Conference USA is. And, I have a lot to say about the terrible league that is Conference USA. And especially in this football category. Let's go out to our pal, Sidelines UTEP, Kevin Bizarre, who's joining us on the hotline right now as we continue. 915-505-6009. If you want to follow up any of these calls, like Milkman, like DeMayer, like Ruben, who called in, who's already asking for Scotty Walden to be fired. We had, Milkman, like we just mentioned. Now we've got Sidelines, Kevin Bizarre, who was out in Logan, who watched this entire game from the sideline. The only content creator to go to this one on the road, on the sideline. That's our guy, Kevin Bizarre, and he joins us now on the hotline. I knew you'd like that one right there, my friend.
I loved it.
You tell us what you think about, or what you thought about this one. Give us all your takeaways, my man.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna take out the pitchforks for Scotty Walden. It's game one. Whoever wants him fired, I think they sipped a little bit too much booze tonight, and they got to go to bed and rethink a lot of things. But it's just game one. But I was listening to Ronnie before or on the way back over here, and he kind of spewed some really good points that I kind of wanted to touch on. He talked about, the transition to the Mountain West and stuff, and Utah State, projected to being one of the bottom barrel teams in the Mountain West. And, UTEP moves to the Mountain West next year. And the fact that we can't, it was a good game. Don't worry. It wasn't a complete blowout or anything like that. But you could tell the difference in talent, in my opinion. I felt like Utah State had a little bit more athleticism in their roster versus UTEP. I'm not discrediting UTEP at all, but it kind of made me think, and it kind of brought me back to the men's basketball game against San Jose State last year in Vegas. I know we're talking about two different sports here, but man, that basketball team got clobbered by San Jose State, and the football team today sort of got clobbered by Utah State, and it made me kind of wonder, wow, is UTEP really that far off from the bottom tier of the Mountain West? And going back to what Ronnie said, I think it is going to be a poop show. Like, I don't know how year one in the Mountain West is going to be because UTEP is, not even taking care of, like, the bottom-tier talent. Like, are we going to be little brothers to San Jose State and UNLV for, like, the next 5 years? I don't know. That's one thing I wanted to talk on, but...
Yeah, it's a valid point.
Yeah.
It's a valid point, man. And to just jump in, I would say they weren't as talented. And that's 70 new players over there for Utah State. They are projected to be near the bottom of the Mountain West. Maybe they climb to 5-6 wins. I think that team could punch above their weight and their preseason projections for sure. I really like Barnes as a quarterback. I thought he was pretty solid out there. But it does give you that harsh reality, the SIPA reality that a lot of people need to have. And that is, as it stands right now here, late August, UTEP is not ready to make that jump to the Mountain West. They are not. They don't have the personnel. And I think if you've listened to a lot of the press conferences from Scotty Walden, he almost chimes in on this too and saying that they need better resources, that he was complimenting Utah State's NIL that they had as well. So they probably have those Power 4 level resources and stuff like that. Like UTEP is here playing with $600,000 in total for their NIL budget right now. That's what we heard, at least for this 2025 roster. So, Sal, that's one of those things right there. If you're making the jump to the Mountain West, they're not ready. They're not ready the way it stands as it stands right now.
Yeah, and the scary part is it's really not just for football. When you look at basketball, we just talked about San Jose State right now, but another thing as far as Utah State is concerned, like they got a program builder in Bronco Mendenhall. This guy's done it before. He's recruited in the area. It's pretty much home to him over there, and he's able to make, how could I say, he's able to make do with little, but with that NIL, it's kind of more beneficial to him now in this day and age. He's able to utilize that and find talent, but say, hey, this is my resume, and this is what I've done. So that's something else that they have going for him. The trajectory for Utah State, like if we're being honest, the pressure may be a lot more on them as they're going to be making the jump as well. So
true, they've got to win.
They have so far. It's easy to say this after one game, but if that's a sample size for Mendenhall and his team, going off of whether that touchdown happens or not for Miles Davis, like what Barnes can do, what Davis can do, you can see that their pieces are kind of gelling early. So we'll see what they look like down the road. But man, they clicked today for sure.
Kevin, you tell us, what were some of the strong things that you saw from UTEP today, and what were some of the things that UTEP needs to kind of forget from today?
I'll start with what they need to forget: mental mistakes and just discipline. It seemed like every opportunity they had, like an open door where they could have went downfield, they could have scored big. They shoot themselves in the foot and they'll get a measly holding penalty or that 30-yard penalty that got Utah State from the 11-yard line to the 41. Like that, you can't win football games when you're making those mental mistakes, and that's something you have to clean up even before UT Martin, because if you're still doing those mental mistakes, UT Martin's just going to capitalize on that for sure. And I guess for positives, despite what Milkman was saying about the offensive line, I thought they were pretty solid. I didn't really see – there were times where I felt Malachi was under pressure. He was kind of, panicking a little bit. But I feel like for the most part, they sort of held their ground. They had a couple of instances where, they let an edge kind of come in or they let the tackle kind of dig in a little bit. I kind of liked what I saw from them, man, but – it was Malachi's first ever game as a college starter, man. Like, you can't read too much into it. You hope he can build off of this game. But, there was a lot of throws he missed, a lot of misconnection, and you just kind of hope he builds that chemistry with his receiving core because today it just didn't really seem there.
Yeah, I'm with you completely there, Kevin. Let's ask you this. Vibes on the sideline after the loss. What was it like?
It was everyone was a little quiet. It wasn't like the pregame where, everyone was getting amped up, kind of just talking to each other in their face.
So they weren't jumping in the fourth quarter. They weren't jumping around in the fourth quarter.
And I kind of enjoy that, Adrian. I've been knocking on that, and I've been texting you all about that and how much if you're down by 15, 20 points and you're jumping around in the fourth quarter dancing like you're winning by 40, maybe that's just the new brand of college football today. I'm just not about that. Like, you're down 14, you got to lock in, man. Like, you can't just be amping up your team. I mean, I guess if you look at it like that, if you're trying to amp up your team, sure, do it. But I mean, maybe just do it a little bit more discreetly, but I didn't see anybody jumping up and down in the fourth quarter.
For the second year in a row, you're the only non-traditional content creator to get credentialed into these away games, these home games, and for that, we tip our hat off to you, my friend, Kevin Bazar, who's joining us right now. The only content creator from El Paso who made the trip to cover UTEP's first football game of the season. Very impressive, my friend. Great job. Good stuff as always. My favorite video, by the way, was your Elijah Baldwin sack, which I think we need like an Elijah Baldwin segment here on this show. So great job as always, man. Safe travels home.
Thank you, Adrian. You guys have a good one, okay? Good night.
All right, good stuff. Kevin joining us here as we continue. Good stuff by Kevin here today here as we continue. A lot of tweets to get to, guys. We have so many posts to get to here on the program. We are going straight through. We are not wasting any time. We are presented by Jack in the Box here as we continue, where they're open 24 hours a day because Cravings don't have a curfew. And speaking of a curfew, after this tonight, we got to hit up some Jack in the Box because we're going to be starving after spending so much time out here today. I got some interesting stats for you guys, and you know me, I love to give you guys the good stats, okay? So here we go. Malachi Nelson, his passing charts, his passing route location charts, and I know you guys like these kind of stats, okay? Screen passes, which were at or behind the line of scrimmage, Malachi Nelson was 6 for 6, 36 passing yards. For short passes, he was 9 for 9. He was 4 for 4 short right, 5 for 5 short left, and these are passes that are 1 to 5 yards, okay? So right now, we're talking about Malachi Nelson being 15 for 15 when he passes at or behind the line of scrimmage and throws that are 1 to 5 yards. He is 15 for 15 today. Here we go. Mid-range passing stats, which are 5 to 14 yards. From the mid-left, 3 for 5. Mid-middle, 1 for 2. Mid-right, 3 for 6. In total, 7 for 13. 54% completion rate and 79 yards. And then the deep passes, anything over 15 yards, 1 for 7. There you go. There you guys go. He had only the 34-yard touchdown strike to Kenny Odom in this matchup right there as far as his only deep ball shot of the game that actually connected. Nothing else connected for him here today beyond that mid-range and deep passing routes. So if I'm Tennessee Martin, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, go ahead. You try to do those home run shots. We're gonna build our defense around this to where we shut down those short passes, those screen passes that you do, and everything else. You try to beat us. You go out there. We dare you. We dare you to go out there and beat us.
So that means we'll see a lot of zone. Then we'll see if he could pick that apart.
Right.
Especially at home. And it's so crazy, right? Because last year, just a bunch of screenplays that we saw, and it's like, hey man, actually this would kind of work last year. However, we got to give it to the guys for catching it, at those spots too. And some of those are, I don't want to say faux catches, but like they don't really matter because he was under pressure and the guy just happened to catch it. Maybe they were better off not even catching it and losing yards in that sense. But you do want to see some type of rhythm get going. It's similar to like in basketball, right? Hey, your shot's not falling. Get to the free throw line, see if you could get one in. I think that's what we may see a lot more, but I like that you brought it up. What kind of play calling will we see by UTEP? We know what you just said right now, Tennessee Martin, what they can do for the next game, but how's UTEP going to respond?
Yeah, I'm looking at this next game, and it's gotta be a win. There's no other way of saying it. It just has to be a win no matter what you say. And for that offensive front, I'll disagree a bit and say that I liked the offensive front. I'd want to talk to my dad about it and see what he saw. My dad's always like the offensive line expert, and then when I rewatch games, usually what he says reigns true. So I need to either rewatch the game or talk to my dad about that offensive line and get a thumbs up or thumbs down from him to see what he thought. But as far as what I saw, only 2 sacks. The sacks come late in the game. It's still an inexperienced offensive line. They go with Jake Utley at the right tackle position, the only surprise that you would say on that offensive line. Zay, any thoughts there? Is it anything from the Malachi stats that I just brought up or anything about that offensive front?
Yeah, I think the offensive front, it was a pleasant surprise. They weren't that bad. I think run blocking, it continues to be an issue. Last year was a big issue. this year. I think it's a bit of the same. Their pass protection wasn't bad. They need to open up holes better. But, look, I think this UTEP offense really does rely on getting the run game going. And I think UTEP was successful at times with doing it. But, yeah, these second down runs, of course, if they end up working, then your playbook is really opened up. And those deep shots become easier. Everything becomes easier if you can run the ball better. And everything becomes easier if you're playing with the lead offensively, especially the way that Scotty Walden likes to call games. So, this upcoming game against UT Martin, they need to strike first, they need to strike fast, they need to take deep shots, and they need to be more confident in themselves. Both Scotty Walden, Malachi Nelson, the whole group, because today they didn't look confident. They looked scared. They looked timid, like I said earlier, and that's part of the reason they only put up 16 points today.
You can be rah-rah. You can have that excitement, but if it doesn't translate to scoring, then what is it? Like that, it doesn't mean any. The hype and the substance don't equal each other. Tristan Pence, let's go to Twitter. We got a lot of tweets to get to. Tristan Pence, and he was out there tonight with his wife. A shout out to the Pence family. Shout out to Tristan for stopping by, saying hi. Loved his takes, loved his analysis post game as well in person. Frustrating loss tonight because this game was very winnable. I got the sense that the coaching staff kept the play calling very basic. The offense really lacked aggression. I don't think Nelson and the receiving core are 100% familiar with each other. Hashtag MinerTalk. The game was lost on big plays in the second quarter by Utah State and penalties by UTEP in the third quarter. UTEP is definitely improved from last year. They might need a few games to get fully calibrated. Next week's game is crucial. UTEP can't lose to a D2 school team in back-to-back seasons. Yeah, FCS team, but you're exactly right. Snappy, some good things, some bad things, head scratches for sure. At the end of the day, UTEP struggles on the road. It could have been worse. Learn and beat UT Martin. From Milkman, punting with 2 minutes left and down 12? Really? I don't think a lot of you guys were fans of that one as well, right?
I hated it. What are we doing? Why are we waving this white flag? What's the worst that happens?
You turn the ball over on your 27 and then they get it? Yeah.
The game is already over. I don't think anybody believed you were going to win. You're not really – it's not like you're playing with a lead or if it's a 4-point game. No, you're down 2 possessions, 2 minutes left. Why not just try and go for it? Why not, they need to play how they act.
Get something you can build on going into the next game. Say, hey, we lost 28-23 instead.
Yeah, most definitely. A couple other tweets to get to. Little Badger. This game was very winnable. The offense play calling just doesn't make sense. Malachi showed some great moments, but he just needs some more reps. He will be good. The defense, just like last year, was the good part of this game. 6 sacks is crazy. Hashtag MinerTalk. Well, I guess let's do it. Let's talk about the defense because Little Badger brought it up. And if we're going to talk all this negativity, then we got to throw the positive bones when we need to. And I'm going to talk about the defense because I was overly impressed with that defensive line tonight. And that D-line today was really, really impressive. By the way, our telephone number, 915-505-6009 is our telephone number. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter and X and 600ESPNElPaso.com. The defensive line was super impressive by the Miners here tonight. You had an opportunity to watch guys who started this game, Katie Johnson, Ashton Coker. Those are the 2 guys who were super, super impressive. I really like those guys as run stoppers in a huge way. But then they started Udoka Ezeani, who in this game, 7 total tackles. He had a sack. 4 tackles for losses. Wow. Number 0 was all over the place. And defensively, he was showing up in a big way. Then you talk about Ashad Hall, who in this matchup right here, Hall also got the start on the defensive line and totaled 2 sacks? I mean, this is like jaw-dropping stuff. Like, you got a chance to see a pass rusher do that? Okay, let's throw that out the window, right? Because now you're talking about a starter who gets 2 sacks right there. That's attainable. That's a Kyron Duhan. That's a Maurice Westmoreland. Those guys, can get multiple sacks within a game. But how about this name right here, Zay? And he may have played maybe 15 snaps. And I would love to see the full snap count. Elijah Baldwin, a guy that in the preseason you really liked, a guy who out of high school I really liked. John Jay High School out of San Antonio, wears number 32, kind of a disgusting number as a pass rusher, 1.5 sacks. And by the way, one of his sacks was for like a loss of 9. And then he had a tackle for loss as well. This guy, and a pass breakup. This guy is playing the wrong sport, my friend. He could play some basketball. He was trying to block a shot from Bryson Barnes instead of going after him as a pass rusher and try to sack him, but he still got the sack. He jumped up to try to block the shot, block the dunk, and then instead sacks the guy. Elijah Baldwin maybe played 15 snaps. I'd love to see the full snap count. Maybe it's 20, but this guy, every single time he was in, he was showing up.
First off, shout out John Jay High School. Shout out Zarek Onyema. You know, I just had to throw that one out there. But
Onyema family, shout out.
You know, yeah, I feel like I'm happy that I've been on the Elijah Baldwin train. You know, ever since he was first signed. I saw one highlight of him like throwing it off the backboard, dunking it to himself. He'd only played like 2 years of football, and I was like, I'm convinced this guy, you know, if they develop him right, he can be like absolutely insane. And we're seeing why. You know, he's 6'7", 6'8", super duper athletic, has this long wingspan. I mean, he's the prototypical modern day edge rusher that NFL teams, you know, they love this type of prototype, you know, the idea of developing a guy like that. So if he can go through this system, do his thing, put some weight on, you know, get more snaps, like you said, if he just gets experience, you know, this guy can be really dangerous. I was really happy to see him get a sack there. I think he'll be really good. And they needed a young guy on that defensive line to step up. After you lose Kyron Duhan, after you lose Jalen Jones, you needed somebody like that to step up besides Ashton Coker, who also had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I liked him as well. But number 32, 6'7", only 230, redshirt. You said it. You got to put on some weight. 6'7", redshirt freshman. Man. Elijah Baldwin. I'm smiling over here just thinking about his performance today. That was impressive stuff. The defense, I know they had some tough parts. I mean, even Ashad Hall, there was one point where I thought he should have had 3 sacks in today's game. There's a good argument to be made that he should have had 3 when it was all said and done. But he finishes with 2, and I think these guys will be better from it. Like, let him go out there, let him take the lumps, and let this D-line show what they could do throughout the season and be the best unit on this team by far. Back to the phones we go. James is next with us, 915-505-6009 if you want to duck in a late call with us. James, good evening, man. What's going on?
Well, just want to chime in and amazing show. I mean, and I've certainly got to congratulate all of our fans. I mean, they've really got a really great observations, and you guys allow for that platform. But, you know, I actually kind of bought into Coach Scotty where I hadn't last year. I saw quite a bit of maturity. I mean, but he did start like the game that he didn't want to. He was playing not to lose the game. Even when his pregame conversation there with John Teicher, he said, you know, he wanted to talk about the team making progress. He wanted to talk about the team making progress, and that's not what the team really needed right there and then for the first game. Number one. Number two, this quarterback. I thought he's not a game manager type of quarterback that we need here. And and you go back to like the metrics of the things that you measure, which I think is great. But you look at how much he lets the clock run down before he calls a play. Where's that sense of urgency? That has to come from the quarterback. He has to rush up to the line and tell the guys, come on, get in there, let's hike the ball. I also thought that he could be telling the coach, hey, coach, the quarterback run option is there. I mean, it'll open up our offense because, I mean, all he had to do was keep the ball a couple of times, and it would have changed everything. Now, I think in all fairness, if that one play where the guy stepped out of bounds, and he stepped out of bounds, if that is called, but it is what it was, he stepped out of bounds, that could have changed the whole narrative of the game. But, again, thank you for letting me chime in.
Good stuff,
and
James.
Please, everybody, get out there and support the Miners next Saturday. They need us, and we're here for them. They're here for us. So and we're going to win. We're going to win. But again, thank you. Great show. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, James. Thank you for weighing in. Line ringing in as we continue now in 550-6009 here on the program. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter and X, 600 ESPNElPaso.com. Shout out Sal Montes bouncing out here a little early, much deserved. He's been here forever throughout the day. So shout out to Sal Montes, co-host here on Miner Talk. George Guajardo, Zay Galindo, and I will continue the show. Depressed UTEP fan. At Plain Spoken AJ. Walden is an offensive head coach, but my goodness, zero scheme, zero identity, zero plan. We can't even do the simple stuff right. This is coming in from Yo soy el mero. Not impressed by Malachi Nelson. We need Shea Smith. He's stronger and not scared to run. Malachi Nelson was indecisive and avoided the run more than a handful of times, not to mention inaccurate. Put in the kid, hashtag MinerTalk. That's the first we've heard from anybody to put in Shea Smith, so interesting storyline right there. Another one to get to, Pinky. A lot of questions after this game for all. Bottom line is Miners coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of game today. This is coming in from Augustine. Can't wait for Miner Talk with explosive reactions. Appreciate you, Augustine. Thank you for chiming in. You've been chiming in nonstop. Delusional Cade McConnell fan is now back with us. Malachi isn't a true pocket passer at the moment, but you know who is? Cade McConnell. Why didn't they put in the greatest of all time? This is This is a ridiculous loss. Defense looks all right, though. I promise I don't run this account. I promise you that. This is we got somebody else then. Let's go to Little Badger, who said, "I'll say this: this team looked better than last year's team. This team would have been blown out." This is Pinky. Thanks for having and for hosting Miner Talk. Great to listen to very knowledgeable Miner fans. He said he wishes he could be there. So good stuff there, Pinky. Appreciate you chiming in as always, my man. 915-505-6009, 600 ESPN El Paso, Twitter and X, 600 ESPNElPaso.com. A couple other tweets to get to. Sun City Caper, 915. Coach Walden's play calling is absolutely abysmal. For a guy that taught fast, fearless, and physical, his offense looks anything but that. He doesn't know how to use timeouts. He doesn't know situational play calling. It's embarrassing. This is David Castro. What? Why not try to go for it? What do you have to lose? It's 4th and 16, Scotty Walden. Why just fold? Clock management lacked inside the 10 minutes, down by 2 scores. Play calling was questionable. Too many hitch and screen routes. Alfonso Frias. The Miners threw up the white flag when it was all said and done. Walden needs to do something about this offense. These 5-yard routes don't work. Last season, they didn't work this year. This is just another anemic and boring as Kugler and Dimmel ball, and it's no good when you're playing from behind. This is from Leo _Miner fan. How much could we expect for Nelson in offense to gel in a week and a half? I believe there is some potential. I was excited for the start of the season, but don't expect a bowl appearance. What do you think the national folks are thinking now? Keep rolling with Nelson. Defense is strong. Yeah. The national people just drank all the Kool-Aid. Herman Flores, number 1, defense was pretty good. Couple of breakdowns for the touchdowns. Number 2, Nelson is not the savior. He's very inaccurate, and there's a reason he didn't see the field at Boise. Number 3, bad coaching, bad play calling, no discipline. Number 4, same old bleep, different season. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid every year. Matthew Castro, what message is sent to the team when you're down 2 scores with 2 minutes left and you punt? We're not good enough to win. We're just here to get reps. That wasn't a great team that we played, for your information. We played the last 2 minutes like this was a money game against Ohio State. Man, that's some brutal calls right there. Let's go to another call. Alan is joining us next, now in 550-505-6009. Alan, good evening. What's going on?
Hey, I got a thought for you guys.
Tell us.
Imagine Malachi with Aaron Jones in the backfield.
Yeah, then you could run those true, I guess, read options. Is that what you're trying to reference?
There you go. With the running back, you could open it up and you'd see a different Malachi.
Possibly so. I also think for Malachi, it's just game 1. Literally game 1 of his college career, 2 years in. But it's too early to tell.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Appreciate
what happened
it.
to the kid that transferred from Coastal Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. He's actually from Carolina, Hashawn Wilson. We didn't see a lot of Hashawn Wilson at all. We mentioned this earlier. I even thought at one point I had to text a couple people. Is he hurt? Is something wrong? No, he just didn't get a chance to play a lot. He didn't get the nod. He was on special teams in the first half. In the second half, a little bit on offense, but not there all the time. So yeah, it's just kind of strange right there. Since I saw him on the depth chart as running back 1, very strange that he didn't get a little bit more playing time. 915-505-6009, our telephone number. Sad UTEP fan says the running game looked better as well as the O-line. 6 sacks was good. However, the offense is still a bleep show. Walden still sucks at play calling. Nelson and his wide receivers clearly have no chemistry. Besides Kenny Odom, UTEP's wide receiver core sucks. Nelson's passes weren't the best, but damn. This is from Atha99. Can we hire an offensive play caller, please? Coach Walden is just bad at play calling, just like last year. Great hype-up guy, though, when it's all said and done. This is from Bryce Bordeaux, who says 1-11. Okay, come on. Let's slow down. They play Delaware. They play Missouri State, who I have them losing, but they play New Mexico State. So they play Tennessee Martin. They play Louisiana Monroe. Like, I'm naming a lot of teams where you should beat. Those are teams that you actually should beat when it's all said and done. This is Andrew who's joining us next. Our pal Andrew who's next with us. A late night Miner Talk. Andrew, how much energy do you have right now with us?
Man, I'm feeling good. I wouldn't say I shouldn't say feeling good, but I got some energy. I got enough to call in, I guess.
Awesome. That's all we need to hear, my man. And I appreciate you calling, Andrew. What do you think about this one? Give us your thoughts.
I think I don't feel as bad as I did last year after week 1. And I know you can't really compare Utah State to Nebraska, but I did see I saw a lot of good things from the O-line protection-wise. I thought Malachi stayed pretty clean, obviously those 2 sacks. But he stayed pretty clean for the most part. I think the O-line did a good job at keeping him protected. Do agree with Zay. He said earlier the run blocking, I think they need to improve on that. I was a little confused by seeing Cam out there at running back. I was expecting to see Hashwan. I hope I'm saying his name right, or just somebody else. I thought Ashton looked really good. So I think there needs to be some work there. But Malachi's a clear QB1. And maybe this was obvious, but as far as somebody from the outside looking in, who did believe that maybe there was a QB battle, there's no QB battle to be. He's the guy to me. I saw a lot of Skyler last year, and Malachi is better than him. And I wonder how much of the mistakes he made were just because it was his first game. But something that was very evident to me, especially in the wide receiver room, is something that you've been pounding your hand on the desk saying for months now. We need a tall wide receiver, and I feel like we really saw that today. You brought up the deep passes. I would be interested in seeing how many of those were on target and how many of them were just way off target as far as the ones that he missed. If they were on target, maybe a taller guy can get those. I think with the picks that he threw, I feel like Kenny tried. The pass was a bad pass, but I feel like if there's a bigger guy, maybe he catches that. I just don't think Kenny was the right guy for that play. But D-line, super hyped to see them. I think, those guys are some dogs, man. Coach Jones he's bringing in some guys on that D-line that I'm really excited to see. 6 sacks, you don't hear about 6 sacks and a team losing. Well, of course, only UTEP, but 6 sacks is something to really be proud of.
Well, it's kind of like the play distribution thing, too. I mean, UTEP ran more plays than Utah State, 72-60, but they were outgained 356 to 284. That tells you that your average yards per play, under 4 yards per play for the Miners, and then on the flip side for the Aggies, they were averaging almost 6 yards per play. That just can't happen. And by the way, Utah State was averaging almost 13 yards per completion. So there you go. There's your stats right there, Andrew. But hey, man, I appreciate it. I think we'll see what happens here for moving forward. I'm not too high, too low on this. Does this change your prediction on the end of the year? Do you still think this team could go to a bowl game?
I I think we get to 5. I think we get to 5, especially seeing how CUSA did this week. MTSU losing to Austin P, which is like, whoa. I mean, that's crazy, and that's their first FBS win in 40 years. So it also raises some question marks around Scotty. Like he just came from there, and this guy is doing something that he couldn't done. Given it's MTSU, it's just it's too early. It's too early to really say how good of a win that is for them, and how bad it looks on Scotty, if it even does.
No, and how bad it really just looks on Middle Tennessee. That's how I would frame it, But, man, Andrew, I appreciate your phone call, man. Thank you for weighing in. He opened up the can of worms, so let's do it. Conference USA scoreboard, and it started with the Conference of Champions on Thursday night. They had their first matchup. It was UCF beating Jacksonville State 17-10. Close game. Close game, Zay. Not that bad. 17-10 against a Big 12 opponent. Delaware defeats Delaware State 35-17. Wake Forest, how about this one, Zay? 10-9 against Kennesaw State. The Owls had a little bit of a shot in that one. I was talking to Sal, who actually watched that one. Unlike me, I was kind of watching it a little bit for Football Friday Night, but he was saying how bad Wake Forest really is, and not really a reflection of how good Kennesaw State is. Florida International blows out Bethune-Cookman, as they should, 42-9. UNLV beats Sam Houston 38-21. That's not an indication of how lopsided that score was. The UNLV Rebels had no trouble with Sam Houston. Sam Houston flat out looks bad right now. Hunter Watson, good quarterback in my opinion. I still like him, but that team is bad. That's a really bad team, and maybe even UTEP could win in that matchup down the line. Who else is bad? New Mexico State. They were up only 12-3 against Bryant, and their fan base was just. You think UTEP fans were mad? Their fan base was irate as that game started to wind down. They won 19-3 when it was all said and done, but not impressive. How about the tie game between Maine and Liberty, 7-7 going into the fourth quarter, and that's when the Flames put up 21 points behind Vasco, who finally woke up in the fourth quarter. Somebody woke him up and pinched him and told him, hey, you're in a college football game right now. You want to play in this one? And he started to finally play late in that one. Western Kentucky blows out North Alabama, 55-6. USC blows out Missouri State 73-13. La Tech defeats Southeastern Louisiana 24-zip. Utah State defeats UTEP 28-16, and nothing else being worse than Austin P defeating Middle Tennessee 34-14 on the road. They're getting paid to go and beat and destroy the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee. I'm out of this conference for just that alone. I'm checked out of CUSA football just based off that score right there, Zay.
I think, Conference USA football is bad. I think this year, I think it'll probably be the worst conference. I think the past couple years they've been going back and forth with the MAC. They've been having a mid-off, who's worse. And I feel like no conference really wants to shine, but it looks like the Conference of Champions is going to take its rightful throne as the worst conference in FBS football. But I want to go back to the other can of worms that we're talking about. There's so many cans of worms everywhere that are being opened up. I'm barely catching up on all of them, and that's the 6 sacks and then the defense as a whole. And all I have to say is let's slow our roll on saying this defense is good, because we've had callers call in really saying that defense is a bright spot, and they looked good in the second half, but man, it felt like whenever Utah State wanted to move the ball, they moved the ball with ease, man. I mean, this bend, don't break, it'll work against Utah State. Well, it really didn't, right? You still end up losing. But is this going to work against, the upper echelon of Conference USA, which we found out today probably isn't that good. But still, you don't want to, always let your opponent get into, your territory so easily. It felt like Utah State crossed the 50 so many times. They had to settle for a penalty here, penalty there. Not all teams are going to be, as penalty frenzy as Utah State was today. UTEP needs to do a better job of getting stops, and they did in the second half, but that's when this game was already basically over, man. I mean, you're getting stops for an offense that's horrible. You're already down 2 possessions. Utah State's playing it, like you said, very vanilla, very, I can't come up with the word for it, but it didn't look like Utah State really wanted to play in that second half offensively, and it made UTEP shine. And yeah, there were some plays where UTEP did look good defensively, but there was a point in that game where that defense was actually, the worst part of that team, especially in that second quarter, man.
Yes.
When Utah State goes up 20-7, I mean, you're kind of sounding the alarms because of how bad that defense looked. And at that point, I'm thinking, hey, this can be a blowout loss because of how bad the team was as a whole, but especially that defense. So I do think they redeemed themselves, but we need to slow our roll on saying they're this, they're that. They have things they need to improve on.
That's fair. Let's go. Let's do it, George. Let's talk about our grades, okay? If you had to give the special teams a letter grade, what would you say? Special teams, what would you say?
B.
Okay, I'm going to say B as well. I agree completely. Offense, where do you say?
They get a D-.
I'll agree. I'll say the same exact grade, and I thought about it before I even asked it. So D- for the offense and the defense for you.
C.
I'd say C is probably maybe a C plus. Like I'd say a C or a C plus. Zay, where do you differ with our grades?
I think the defense gets a C-.
Wow.
I was not a big fan of it. I think
too many punts. Is that your issue, or what's wrong? Too many fielding of the punts.
Yeah, too much inconsistency. I mean, you had a kicking out of bounds on one. Some of the punts were good. Some of them were bad. Some of them were out of bounds. Cam Thomas did not look good on punt return. Punt return as a whole did not look good. You had the penalty on one of the punt returns. And, yeah, you're going to have your bright spot. You had one good field goal, okay, 42-yarder.
Carlos Adiola, Clint High School zone.
I'll take that, right? I'll take that. It's one field goal, though, right? I mean, Buzz Flabiano hit a 42-yarder before.
He hit a 50-yarder before.
Yeah, I mean, let's say what it is. I think that was a good field goal. It gives me hope for him, and I want him to succeed. But, the defense as a whole, I think it wasn't great. It wasn't, it was the same as last year. Defensively, I'll give it a C+. I think, I was hard on them at first, but, I got to give them their credit. 6 sacks. They had 12 TFLs, I think. They did show up at times. And then offensively, I give it a C-.
Punting-wise, Noah Botsford averaging almost 48 yards per punt. That's so much better than Adam Jacklin, though. I mean, look, 9 punts is not what you want to do. You don't want that. You don't want to have the penalties on the kickoff. You don't want to have the penalties in special teams like you did. But to say that this special teams was less than, a C average, I think that's a little unfair. I would say that with this with what we saw from Noah Botsford, at least you have the assurance that this guy has a booming leg. I get what you're saying. There were a couple that went out of bounds off the kickoff, and that was disappointing right there. And I just think in the future, when you have Noah Botsford, you have a guy who has a pretty good leg. I mean, he had a long of 64 today, which, I mean, that's a pretty solid mark right there for UTEP moving forward. Mr. E chiming in, keep Emery as your main running back. Pure power. I'm hopeful that we get it together, but that play calling needs to change. What do you think of Ashton Emery, Rockwall's own, true, I should say, redshirt freshman coming into the mix?
I think he looked good. He looked explosive. He looked confident. I've used this word a lot, but he hit the hole confidently. I think sometimes Cam Thomas, patience is good as a running back, but he was a little bit too patient, a little bit too he just wasn't confident when running, and you need to sometimes just be north and south.
True.
That east-west game, sure, it'll work sometimes, but, I mean, there was a time where Cam Thomas lost like 3 or 4 yards trying to get to the outside. I mean, sometimes just hit the hole and go. You need that, and we saw that from Ashton Emery. We saw that from Marquez Taylor, too.
True.
I think he had a good game, too, so I like that they were kind of switching out the halfbacks, but I feel like I said earlier, you got to let one guy at least get their legs under them.
Yeah, I think so too. In like a work back, that's not going to necessarily be the guy who does everything on your team. And I think Cam Thomas can do everything on their team, but should you use him in other places? I think you can find other places to utilize him versus just getting this done the way that they did today. Guys, I think we're starting to finally wind it up. I have a couple other notes to get to. Different shades of orange, Zay. There was a lot of different shades of orange. This is always one of your favorite topics.
I mean, this is ridiculous, guys. I mean, this is almost as bad as the loss because, first off, Scotty has a completely different orange on. It's sometimes you can notice the different shades, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you gotta really, really look. No, I could see it from here. Over all the mountains in Logan, over all the mountains here, I can see that different orange on Scotty. And it was so frustrating because why do we have a different? This is a branding issue. Like, it seriously is. People love to get on me saying it doesn't matter. This, that, and the third. No, this doesn't matter. It does matter. This is branding, guys. We need to have the same color on. We need to look like a real deal college football team. We can't have 7 different oranges on the field. And hey, the thing he had on it was nice. It had the retro Pete on and everything. But let's match. Let's have that beautiful Tennessee orange that I'm the only fan of, apparently. Everybody loves the red orange. No, the red orange, we're not Syracuse, guys. We're not Syracuse. Come on. This is modern. It looks better with the blue. The dark blue and the light orange look better anyways. Let's wear the same orange. It's FF8200. That's the color code on the official UTEP website. Let's use it.
Oh man, great job! I love it. You had to get on your soapbox for that one. I had to just let you cook there. This is from Alex Nicolas, our great friend of the program. Bring back Minor Rush for sure. Scotty Walden should be laying into his assistants. This is on them, not the players. This staff is FCS level at best, in my opinion. And then he said earlier, Scotty Walden just called a timeout after converting a 4th and 2 with a short run that created a pile and killed the clock, down 2 scores with under 3 minutes left in the game. What the hell is this guy doing? Feels so bad for his players. This is bad. Coming from Alex Nicolas, our friend. Go ahead, George. You give me some other thoughts.
Zay, I couldn't disagree with you more about the orange. I hate this Tennessee orange. We are not the Vols. We're UTEP, all right? I remember the good days. If there were any with Mike Price, it was that beautiful, bright orange. So that's what I'm going to go with. No, yeah, it's the play calls, right? It's the consistencies. I think for UTEP, there were moments in the game where their offense seemed like it had legs under it and it had some momentum. And then one mistake, one bad play, one incompletion, and it kind of goes all awry. And I think that's a reflection of what you see on the sidelines, right? And we talked about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you're losing, all of this stuff gets analyzed, right? And then it's look at the sidelines and look at how he holds his clipboard and all this. I feel like UTEP has to find a happy medium right now where they're not too high, they're not too low because the lows are so low. And there just aren't enough highs to even justify it, right?
That's a good point.
They've got to calm themselves down, and they've got to find like some consistency so that they start putting that on the field. But I for whatever reason, I feel way more optimistic about UTEP this year than I did last year. There's some bright spots. I do like Emery. I do like Taylor. I can't wait to see what Wilson brings. And Malachi's got the arm talent. It's there. It all has to come together with, Coach Walden putting the right plays, trusting the right guys, and, managing the game better. The defense, we'll see. Zay's totally right about there were moments in that second quarter where they were the worst unit on the field. But the 6 sacks is weird also, right? That it speaks for itself. So, I don't know. More optimistic. We'll see. Like you said, Adrian, got to win that game against UT Martin.
I forgot how tough MinerTalk is in the sense that it's hard to just evaluate everything after the game and try to internalize everything. I've got a whole note sheet right now of starred players that I'd have and guys who I want to take a bit better step forward. I think I've pretty much talked about all of these players through everything that we've said so far. The only other thing I will say is the choice routes. I can't stand the choice routes as far as wide receivers. This is an offensive philosophy. They're going to have their slot receivers run a choice route, and those are those tight window throws that Malachi is expected to hit in these games. I just don't know how attainable that's going to be moving forward. Guys, UT Martin, it's Tennessee Martin coming in very, very soon on this one right here. Our pal Ivan Pierre-Aguida is checking in. He's saying, mad because of my photojournalistic comment. Very telling that you think a person who steals and shoots D1 college on an iPhone, uploads basic raw clips is a content creator. If you dish it again, then take it and don't cry about it later. I was just dishing. I was actually getting your comment from earlier, being the only journalist from El Paso to make the trip. I just don't think it's one of those things to write home about, my friend. I don't think it's one of those things to talk about on social media. And if you need a pat on your back, you got it, man. We'll give you a pat on your back, and we'll tell you that good job and all those kind of things right there. Hey, big shout out to the Torres family. Mark Torres made the trip out and met with Marcus Torres, his son, obviously, after this game. Didn't see number 2 on the field. I saw him in the 2 deep for sure in the depth chart. He may have played on special teams. That's when he may have gotten a chance to get out there and actually play. But big shout out to Mark Torres, who got a chance to go out there. We're super happy that Marcus Torres, his son, is that recognizes the number 2 Luke Laufenberg jersey, recognizing the son of Babe Laufenberg, who passed away here at UTEP while he was a player here, or I should say in the midst of being a player here at UTEP, and honoring the Laufenberg name. So good shout out there to Marcus Torres, getting that chance to see his dad out there in Logan, Utah, which is really, really cool. The Kenny Odom dime of a catch, it was awesome. The one-handed grab was awesome too. Some really, really cool things that we got a chance to see from Kenny Odom as well here today, despite him dropping a couple passes as well. So you got to see a little bit of the best. I wouldn't say the worst. You got to see the best in some of his mishaps throughout this game here as well in this contest. Guys, that's going to wind it up here on the show. I'll give you guys some of the final words here on the program today. Zay, go ahead. Tennessee Martin on deck. UTEP taking on Tennessee Martin next week.
MinerTalk is known for the high emotions, for the outrageous takes sometimes after a win or a loss. I think that UTEP fans have done a good job of tempering themselves, figuring out, hey, let's not get too high, let's not get too low. And I think it's cool that I'm seeing this fan base grow a little bit. And, of course, you're still going to have people who are going to say fire Scotty Walden after one loss and
which is
bench
ridiculous.
Malachi. Or, if UTEP wins this game, you probably would have had somebody saying, hey, we're going to win 11, 10 games. But, look, the issue today with this team is I think that team last year, UTEP team last year down the stretch, if they played this team today, that team last year wins. They win by maybe 2 touchdowns. I think that they looked better against New Mexico State, against Kennesaw State, than they did today. They looked more talented. They looked more mature. And it makes sense because they had a whole season under their belt, right? They had more experience and everything. But I just don't feel like they rode that momentum that we felt through the offseason, through those 2 of the last 3 games that they won that, everybody made a big deal about. I feel like they didn't ride it into this game. I want to see them play confidently. That drive before halftime where they go for it at their own 35, they drive down the field, hit a 42-yard field goal to cut it to a 10-point game. That looked like good football. Where do we get that sense of urgency? Where do we see these guys really, just let loose? Play the game. Play freely. They look so restricted sometimes. They need to go fast. They need to play physical, and they need to play fearless. They preach this, but we didn't see it too much today. But we know it's there. It's somewhere in there, and they need to unlock it because this team, I still believe, has the talent to get to 6 wins. And it's a little far-fetched now, but it's not impossible. We talked about how bad Conference USA was this, how bad it's going to be this year. There's no reason this team can't get to 6 wins, but at the same time, we saw a look into a reality where UTEP only wins 3 to 4 games again if they play the way they played today. So, I'm leaving this game not too high, not too low. Optimistic, but also, it's a reality check. I had UTEP winning this game. They didn't win this game. They didn't look as good as I expected them to be. So I'm really interested to see how they regroup, how they face adversity, and how they take on, a solid FCS team in UT Martin.
Who you got to beat. It's an absolute must-win. George, go ahead. Great stuff by Zay right there, trying to wind us down here on the program. You go ahead.
Yeah, just looking back to the fans' comments, we have fans that are great, that they also know ball. It's one thing that I love about being from El Paso and being a Miner fan, although I have to be objective in this sense. And I got to smack myself for talking we a lot today again. But no, I think that it's unfair, really, to compare last year's UTEP team that was able to go on a good run there at the end to this year, like week one, after all the turnover, after everything, all the expectations and the hype. For whatever reason, I feel optimistic. I think that this team is more talented on both sides of the ball, and I think that Walden, I think he's really, really trying to learn here. I think he's putting too much on himself, and he has to start delegating more, like you've talked about, Adrian. If he takes those steps, I think UTEP can be a 5 or 6 win team. Absolutely. If not, yeah, 3 wins are probably in the future, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I mean, I think for Miner fans, it's going to be about balancing in that and enjoying the ride and the ups, right, more than the downs. And so we'll see how that all ends up going.
And we'll see how patient the fans can really be when this is all said and done. Hey, really appreciate everybody here on Miner Talk chiming in, staying with us late. 2-hour edition of Miner Talk. We wouldn't have it any other way. We had to do it like this, where we rip the Band-Aid off. We give everybody a chance to voice their own comments, and we just we do what we do here on Miner Talk, and we basically be the amplifying voice of your voice when you want to chime in on your words, your thoughts, your opinions on UTEP sports. Joe Chacon will close us out on Twitter and X. Celebrated the wife today ahead of her birthday on Friday, September 5th. That was the best part of the night. Happy early birthday, Stephanie. So shout out to Stephanie, Joe Chacon. We appreciate you. We appreciate you chiming in, and also shouting out your wife, who you got a chance to celebrate tonight. So see you out there at the home opener tailgate when we will be back out at the district. We are presented by Jack in the Box. We're winding it up tonight. Utah State defeating UTEP 28-16. We're going to have so much content all throughout the week heading into the home opener against Tennessee Martin. Until then, for George Guajardo, for Sal Montes, for Zay Galindo, I'm Adrian Broadus. We are signing off tonight and saying so long. Thank you so much for listening to Miner Talk, brought to you by Jack in the Box here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.